Hello, my name is Kyle. Usually it is my twin brother Travis Baylitz that tends to make these mental health videos. He's been living with bipolar for the past 11 years, and he's usually been posting various advice type videos, and some were actual videos of himself actually struggling and having episodes of bipolar. But usually it always has been him doing this stuff, but I think now is an important time to actually me to share my viewpoint, and also living with a brother that has dealt with the twin that has multiple hospitalizations and I think five or suicide attempts, or something along that line. I don't know how long this video will be, but it's just going to be all casual. But I gathered some statistics. So what really, I guess, was kind of upsetting me, it's kind of funny because I don't like K-pop. I don't even like Korean dramas. I don't watch Korean movies or know the in and outs of the celebrities. And it's funny because I'm a Korean adoptee, but I guess I never really was into that kind of scene. But for some reason, the things that stood out to me was the fact that these three popular famous celebrities have recently killed themselves in the past month or so. The first one was Sulli, which was October, and Goo Hara, which was just recent, and then another guy, Cha In-ha. Now, I don't know any of these guys, but it kind of got me interested in learning more about suicide in general and the Korean culture in general, which is something I wanted to kind of change if I could. So the interesting thing about suicide in general is it seems to happen amongst the older population, and I'm doing these off from memory, but is mainly on average men have a suicide rate that is twice as higher than women, but women do have more suicidal ideations and thoughts. And it usually if you fit these bounds, low socioeconomic status, high stress, inadequate sleep, alcohol use, and smoking are associated with suicidal tendencies amongst adolescents. And in general, 800,000 people die from suicide every year, and I'm taking these from the Our World Data organization. They do have some quite a bit of good statistics here. As you can see in the picture, you probably can't, but cardiovascular disease, cancers, respiratory diseases, lower respiratory infections now are consists of the highest rates of death. But suicide makes up about 3,823 people in the past year in 2000. I can't remember. I think it's 2017 or 2018. But yeah, even though I know there's some person that told me that even though suicide does not make the most of the deaths compared to cardiovascular disease, which goes up in the 16 billions, and cancers are 10 million, suicide really is a prevalent issue. And I feel like me being experienced with it through my brother, it's time for a change, and a drastic one. And the interesting thing about suicide too is through the global measures, I'm not going to go through all that, is the fact that suicide is the most prevalent, and I think Korea ranks number 2, which is pretty bad for how small that country is. I think this country is smaller than Minnesota actually. So, but what kind of got me upset is this. I'll read you about the social culture, and this is something that I can't change, I realize, but at least I could just still rant about it in video, I guess. So suicide, they have written here, This is what it says from Wikipedia. In South Korea, mental illness is taboo even within a family. Over 90% of suicide victims could be diagnosed with a mental disorder, but only 15% of them receive proper treatment. Over 2 million people suffer with depression annually in South Korea, but only 15,000 choose to receive regular treatment. Because mental illnesses are looked down upon in Korean societies, families often discourage those with mental illness from seeking treatment. Since there's a strong negative stigma on the treatment of mental illnesses, many symptoms get unnoticed and can lead to many irrational decisions, including suicide. Additionally, alcohol is often used to self-medicate. And this is what kind of got me upset the most. Hold on, I'm trying to find, I don't know what happened to this page. These pages are all over the place. I may have to just look on my phone. And here's another interesting thing about the media. According to the weather effect, some people commit suicide as a reaction to another suicide. This applies also to South Korea. According to a study, South Korea experiences a surge of suicides after deaths of celebrities. The study have found 3 of 11 cases of celebrity suicide resulted in a higher suicide rate of population. The study controlled for the potential effects of confounding factors such as seasonality and unemployment rates. Yet celebrity suicide still had a strong correlation to increased rate of suicide rate for 9 weeks. The degree of media coverage of celebrity suicide impacts the degree of increase of suicide rates. In the study, the 3 celebrities that received wide media coverage led to a surge in suicide rates, and other celebrity suicides with low media coverage did not lead to an increase in suicide rate. It's not what I wanted. There was something that showed the stigma, and I might just have to look at it on my phone. So forgive me for this time. I don't know if I printed it right. But basically, what upsets me most is not just Korean culture. Like even in America culture, even though we're more open, we're still told to. There are people that are just so afraid of the stigma that they're afraid to just talk about it. And I really, from my belief, I truly believe that suicide is like one of the easiest, can be easily prevented if you actually just talk about it and not be afraid of talking about your darkness and dark feelings. I'll be honest, I do it all the time. Maybe I'm a toxic person, but I say, hey, it's better to actually talk about it than actually be like 6 feet under the ground. And that was kind of my my gripe with people who choose not to get help. I mean, these celebrities probably make $1 million. They could probably choose to actually get help, but they're probably more, I don't know what their story is, but to me, from their culture, since they stigmatize people with mental illnesses, they probably feels like death is actually a better solution. But I know there are multiple perceptions about suicide. When I think from a suicide person, they mainly just want to end the pain. They don't want to live anymore. But even then, and I even had a therapist that tells me you cannot stop people from dying or wanting to kill themselves. But for some reason, I feel like I need to choose a route that it is still possible to stop people from dying, even if they want to, because deep down, they're not thinking clearly and things do get better. But nothing upsets me more is that people are told that these Korean people feel obligated to be silent. And that what really upsets me, especially when people probably need help the most. I know I feel a little bit angry and on edge and a little bit intense about it, but I feel like there's like really no way. I mean, deep down, I'll go a little bit more depth about it until I get this Korean thing up, so I'm not just ranting. Okay, so I found the text that I wanted to read. This is what really grinds my gears, but I'll let you be the judge of it based off what I read. Social perceptions of mental illness, according to Wikipedia. I know it's just Wikipedia, but they still have some good information. And I guess it's up to you if you want to believe it, but I feel like it's true. South Koreans have been found to have comparatively higher levels of internalized stigma, which relates to higher rates of mental illness and more severe symptoms. Seeking treatment for mental health conditions is largely frowned upon in the Korean culture, which reports stating that only 7% 7% of those affected by mental illnesses seek psychiatric help. As a culture heavily influenced by Confucianism, the honor of the family is prioritized over the individual, leading Koreans to forego treatment to preserve their family face. It also said by Korean doctors that Confucian culture emphasizes individual will and self-discipline, which creates a social prejudice against mental health. Those who turn to therapy often pay out of pocket and in cash to avoid the stigma associated with mental health record services on one insurance record. Stigma also hinders the ability of those recovering from mental illness to reintegrate into society. And you know why I feel like this fits with me is maybe my brother and I were adopted off for a reason, because deep down I feel like we're even rebellious even in the American culture, and we kind of butt heads with them too. But it reminds me, if we lived in Korean culture, I wonder, since their stigma is so hard, I wonder if we would actually end up being silent back then, or would we not? So I guess I'll tell you a little bit about myself. This kind of goes in hand. It was actually me originally that actually sought psychiatric help, honestly, actually in 2000, I think it was 2008. So I actually have this whole Bible of a dictionary that's like all my health records and dreams, old dreams, letters and medical health stuff, and a few, even the letter that I actually end up emailing my teacher in college. And this is why it's kind of ironic. My brother and I were actually very shy, well-behaved, well-mannered, I guess got along with people, until I guess once he went to therapy, it kind of, I don't know if it's therapy that changes, because you kind of realize who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck what people think about you? Who gives a fuck? Nothing, in my opinion, nothing can make up for the fact for the loss of one's life. Not a relationship, not a bad relationship, not a bad marriage, not money, not success, not anything. It is about health is wealth, and I truly believe that suicide can actually be prevented, and there's no reason to think suicide makes more sense than anything else. And I know I might trigger some people who are saying, oh, I feel like shit. I mean, I feel like shit too. But I still believe that there has to be a way to find a respect for life. And in general, part of the cause is people too afraid to ruffle people's feathers, too afraid to worry about what others think about them, when I feel like that's exactly the problem why people shut up. And when people are silent, sometimes they find themselves 6 feet in the ground, and that's what upsets me the most about this. I feel like I'm going on an old angry Asian rant episode, but I'm really passionate about this subject because it's kind of eating at me seeing these 3 people that killed themselves. So like I said, my brother and I were extremely shy. We did have depression as a kid, and you want to know why? We used to be like these Korean people, I guess you could say. We used to be like the typical shy schoolboy that didn't even talk to their parents about their issues or feelings at all. Throughout grade school, even throughout college. And maybe it's because I didn't know better, and maybe I was just too much of a puss. I don't want to say that. That's maybe too intense, but maybe I just didn't know better. It's not a good life. You realize there are good people out there, and you want to interact. And the best thing about it's about loving people, and there are good people out there, and you got to just put yourself out there. And at the same time, you shouldn't care what others think about you. So, like I said, we were extremely shy. We did have mental health issues probably since like 8th grade. We were always shy. Maybe we had some form of autism too. I've been diagnosed with that. But I find these diagnoses to take it or leave it now, because in the end, it's more what you think. So I'm trying to be a bit more careful what I diagnose myself with. But in 8th grade, when my parents are having marital issues, that's probably when we had mental health issues ourselves. So my mom actually hired this therapist to wonder if there was something wrong. Now, this is in 8th grade. And my regret was actually not just trusting this guy and being too afraid. I wasn't brave enough to talk about how I felt. In reality, I had anxiety issues. It was very hard for me. I did well in school, but it was very hard for me to get along with people. And maybe I did have some paranoia and some form of psychotic issues due to the fact that I feel like it was a lack of sleep. And I do have some paranoia regardless whether it's personality. But in the end, I regret not getting help earlier. And now that I'm 32 years old, I try to believe in the non-filter, be honest, be open with your feelings kind of method, even if it kind of ruffles other people's feathers and even if people don't like me. Because in the end, there's no point where, people liking you if you're dead. It seems kind of an intense statement, but it's true. The most important thing is life. So beyond that time, I ended up going to college. I remember the first day of college, I was really super nervous. My brother and I really did not want to go. He had to go first to school, and it's hard to describe anxiety. It's just like I don't know if it's a feeling about wanting to die, but you just don't want to, you want to be away, want to go and hide. And I remember going to the first day, trying to travel to my first class, and that nervous feeling. I'm pretty sure people thought we were weird because we kept pretty quiet to ourselves and really didn't say anything. And now it's a funny thing because now when people talk to me, they think I actually talk too much and I say too much and I have no filter, but these are the reasons why. So when in college, I kind of realized I still had issues. I was still socially anxious. I really couldn't develop friendships. And this was in my 20s, I think. And I really could not interact with people and just talk to them. I mean, I still have some anxiety. It's kind of in your face kind of thing now that kind of gets people in the wrong kind of footing. I've been trying to tone back, but there's still when it comes to these things, I'm not going to tone back. That's all I could say. So in college, it was probably my second year after Academy College. I was actually going to major in psychology, and I did end up going to the U of M, or the University of Wisconsin-River Falls, and I was going to go into psychology to major in it, even though I was majoring in, I didn't know what the hell I wanted, game design. I first started at Academy College, I first started at River Falls, went there for a couple of years, got my generals somewhat done, went to Academy College, and then in animation, quit that in 6 months, and then went to Brown College to do game design. And then that's when I felt like I was depressed and there's something wrong with me because I couldn't stick with anything. And maybe it's because I was perfectionist and I wanted those A's, and I was a procrastinator, which didn't help. But regardless, I felt there was something that needed to be worked on within my psyche. So that's when, after I took a psychology course, that made me think about my psychology teacher. So I end up actually contacting him through email. I have the letter and all these forms papers. I don't want to take time to show it, but I basically asked him. I sometimes feel like I hear things that the weird thing with me with my mental illness at that point was I was so paranoid when I would hear random voices talking. My brain would sometimes convert that into actual edible words, like calling me ugly, calling me a slot, calling me all that kind of negative. It was a really bad psyche. So whether that's psychosis, I don't know. Maybe it was I lacked sleep, and maybe I was so stressed out being in social situations, my mind would end up fucking up a little bit on itself. It's kind of like the guy in Deadpool. I don't know. I remember someone asked me about that, like the first episode when he became ugly and you hear all that compartmentalization of voices and sounds. That's what my mind would pick up and it would talk about these negative, really bad things about me that wasn't good, and it killed my self-esteem. And that's why I feel like I regret not talking about this to my therapist. I wish I did talk to my school counselor. I wish I was more vocal. I wish I did get help so I wouldn't have to feel like this wound this trauma that it's very difficult to forget. I mean, I'm usually not serious. I usually like to joke about this stuff, but there's a reason why I joke, because when something's painful, why do you want to focus on the negative? But anyway, eventually I got help. And that was a time when I wanted to go on a bunch of meds. I'll talk more about my own medical history, my med history, on another video, because it's more targeted towards suicide. But hey, as much of the problems as I had with people, I still somehow, once I talked to my teacher, someone who I trust, he ended up giving me the confirmation that, yeah, it's okay. He's not qualified, because he's more of a sex psychologist and a business psychologist. But he said, yeah, so that gave me a go-to, and I ended up sending that letter to my mom. She ended up seeing it, and she probably knew there was something a little weird about us, because we didn't interact well with people. And eventually that's when I saw my first therapist, and then I saw my psychiatrist. This was all in 2008. And yeah, things went from there, and I actually tried a bunch of meds that kind of fucked me up. I ended up going on like antipsychotic and Vega and all this clonazepam, and I had a withdrawal from that. But it wasn't good. But I'm basically saying, as shy as I was, I don't know why it's blinking. As shy as I was still able to get help. And because I was able to like talk about it, just do it. Just do it. I mean, I feel like I'm a personal trainer saying this stuff, but you have to be. You gotta push yourself to get help. I just feel like with all these resources now, and these resources available now in these mental health fields, like there's a lot of programs now that, like, we now have a mobile support team, and they're now checking kids with various mental health issues, which I wish they did when I was a kid. We just had health and psychology, which did interest me back in the day, but it still, I still didn't get that I guess that rush to finally just, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck what people think about you? That's just what I came to believe. I want everyone to repeat after me. Who gives a fuck what people think about you? Just fucking get help. Like those celebrities, why didn't they get help? They have money. Why care about what their people think about them? Why care what their family thinks about them? Fuck family, fuck friends, or fuck those people that talk shit about you. It's about you being alive. I want you to repeat after me. Fuck anyone that you are worried about judging you. Fuck your haters. Fuck it. Just fucking go and get help and have an open mind. And maybe they can actually help you. I know I sound a little angry, but I guess I kind of am, because that's that intensity you kind of need. I feel like these celebrities, it just angers me, because I developed this personality now that I can just talk about anything. I'm not afraid. I'm willing to talk to people, and most people, you find that they're actually pretty nice anyway, and they're pretty good people. And once you get over that fact, that just don't worry about it so much. Don't be so anxious. If shit happens, who gives a flying fuck? Maybe you have to own a $1 million company. In the end, it's not about the money. It's not about anything. It's about staying alive in your own life. It's your life that matters. Being alive is your job at that point. So, there was actually a more dramatic entrance I want to talk about, but I just wanted to show, like, look at all these. This is all in Minnesota. You probably can't see it, but there's a wealth of help, like Safe Talk, 911. You can call 911, and everyone knows the National Suicide Prevention Line. And now in Washington County, we have the mobile crisis lines. When my brother would get suicidal, I didn't know what to do, because it would just always agitate the shit out of me, and I would probably get all stressed, and he would get stressed, and my dad would get stressed, and then my whole family would get stressed. But in the end, there's another comment I wanted to make. If you're really at that point and you have no one, and you're like wanting to shoot yourself or hang yourself, maybe you're not able to think, but if you could think, you got to do everything to get yourself out of that for that moment. And I just want to prove to you, I wanted to prove to the world about what I mean by not giving a flying fuck what anyone thinks about you, and just get fucking help. I don't want to see these stupid ass suicide things. I'm sure I will, and I'm just gonna have to live with it, and I guess I will, but deep down, I really wish they would actually watch my videos. I'm too trash looking for a K-pop celebrity, but I got a nice body. Can you guess what this is leading to? See, I'm like a personal trainer now, but I'm just trying to instill in your mind that you gotta. Tony Robbins says that you have to do the most craziest things to get yourself out of those moods. What am I doing? I'm just trying to prove a point. I know this is gonna piss all my family members off and all my relatives, but dude, if I'm willing to strip down. If I'm willing to strip down for the whole world to see and dance, that might get me banned on YouTube and Facebook. I'm just saying. I used to be a shy, quiet boy that kept his clothes on and very well behaved. And then maybe I had a mental problem, and maybe I still do, but right now I just don't care. I mean, sometimes you just gotta strip yourself naked and just be vulnerable and fucking get the help that you need. It's people probably are judging me right now saying, why doesn't that man have fucking clothes on? He's a horrible human being. But hey, I want to tell you, I have the gift of being alive to dress in a thong. That's what I'm thankful for. And I really wish these Korean celebrities would actually be more like me and more vocal. And rather than seeing those stupid suicide messages when they probably could have just got help, but they just pretty much dropped everything, let it all go, forget the rest, and just do their best. I mean, it's stupid. All these wealth of information I have all on the floor that you probably can't see. There's a lot of good programs now for people that with mental health issues and suicide. It's like almost no excuse anymore. That's what I've come to believe. I did a Facebook fortune cookie that stated that what did it say? It stated that Santa would give me the will to live. I do have the will to live, and I want to show the world that I'm willing to bear my whole heart on my sleeve. And I'm sure they're saying that I'm one crazy motherfucker, and I'm sure the Korean adoptee woman now think that I'm a creep, but that's fine. My brother and I were ousted by the Korean adoptee community not too while ago. They think that I'm a rapist or whatever and all that crap and all that criminal crap. I'm not. And I abuse and target and harass women. Nah. But I'm just trying to say, if a man in front of you on this YouTube video or this video is willing to strip down for you, why don't you join me? Wear a thong. Just quit being so sorrowful. Go dance in a thong, load some thong videos showing that you love life and that you're free and happy. I'm really serious. I'm not actually joking here. I drew this, by the way. I have a really good affiliation with I have a really good thing with the Joker aside from the killing part. It's the fact he just doesn't give a flying fuck. You shouldn't give a flying fuck what anyone thinks. You're fine if you have to get help. No one judges you. Maybe they do, but who cares? I don't, because deep down we're all crazy inside, and they just haven't come to that point that they realize that. Maybe they think they're better than you, but it doesn't matter. It's about being alive and staying alive. And my brother is proof. He lived 11 years with that kind of crap. And he's still going strong, and I think he's going to live a pretty natural life like I plan to do. I've been going to the gym more, but I could still lose weight. All right. I think this is it. My last word of advice is there's no value on your life. Your life is the most important value. Health is wealth. And if you really are thinking about pulling that rope or shooting yourself with a gun, try wearing a thong first. And then maybe after that, call 911 and then just go to the fucking hospital. I know it's a chore, but deep down, you'll thank me. All right, stay alive, my brothers and sisters. See ya.